The subject of my talk this morning is, after death what? It is a question. After death what? This question has troubled the minds of human beings who are able to think from the very dawn of human existence. Yes. So, let me go back to our primitive ancestors. The primitive ancestors, many thousand years ago, they were there. And they were in a world of a lot of ignorance. Many things that we know today, they did not know those things. In course of time, more and more knowledge came. So the primitive ancestors of human beings, they also had this question, after death, what happens? They would say, people die around them, and what happens to them? And those primitive ancestors, they had the idea that this earth was like a disc, large disc. Some of them would go to the top of a hill and look around, and they could see the horizon, the horizon was circular. That's why they thought this earth is like a circular disc. And they could see the sky above. But what was under this disc, they did not know. Anyway, but this thought came to their minds also. What happens to us after we die? And they found the answer through their dreams. They would fall asleep and start having dreams. In their dreams, isn't it strange that some people who are dead and gone, they would appear there. And the person who was dreaming, he would interact with them. But when they would wake up, they'd look for those people, but they could not find them. They would look for those people, but they could not find them. They thought most probably they only appear when a person is dreaming to such a person. But then some of them looked at the sky and could see a high-flying bird like an eagle fly higher and higher and higher. And eventually that bird disappears from sight. It has gone so high. Then they concluded that there must be a world up above which is invisible to our eyes, but it is there nonetheless. And they called it heaven. And it is in that heaven that the departed souls go and live. And only when a person falls asleep, then they come down and interact with their dreamer. That's what they thought. And not all those people who had died were according to our primitive ancestors' estimate, were good. Some of them could have been harmful. And they thought, after their death, will they go to heaven? No. They should go to a worse place. Then they imagine that there is a hollow area under this flat round disc on which they were there. That is this earth, they thought that it was like a round disc. And underground there is a dark and dismal, unpleasant world that is there. And that's where they go. And they call it hell. That's how the idea of heaven, earth and hell came to the minds of our primitive ancestors. Gradually, as time passed, people started coming to know more things. And the idea of this heaven and hell and earth, it also went on changing. In India, in ancient India, some thinker was able to know that this earth was not flat. It was round, spherical, like a plum fruit. And in India there is a fruit which is called amalaki fruit. In English its name is myrobalan. Myrobalan, actually it is a Latin word. And so there is a saying there, Karatala kalita amalakavad amalam vidanti ye golam. That it is just like the amalaki fruit which is on my palm, the earth is spherical. Amalaki fruit, myrobalan, like a plum. And then the old concept of heaven and hell had to be abandoned. The earth being spherical. Where was heaven? Where was hell? So those ideas kept on changing. But still our ancient ancestors, they used to speak of three worlds, Tribhuvanam, this earth, and they would not talk about hell, the earth and a world which is between heaven and earth. So these three worlds were there. And there is an ancient prayer for spiritual enlightenment. By that time they have come to know that inherently we are all divine. And in divinity there is peace and joy only. So they would crave that state. And they would feel that they were ignorant of that divinity, but somehow that divinity should be manifested. That they would call enlightenment. For most people, divinity is in darkness. They do not know divinity. But if the darkness is gone, then they will know divinity. That's what they thought. And that would be called enlightenment. So that ancient prayer is for such enlightenment. That prayer is called Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhur Bhuva Swatat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yana Prachodayat Om. Oh Lord, who is the Lord of these three worlds, this earth and heaven, and in between, that's the world which is called Bhuvarloka. This earth is called Bhurloka, and heaven is called Swarloka. And the world which is in between these two is called Bhuvarloka. These three worlds they thought. They said, oh, the one who is the Lord of these three worlds, that means God, let me meditate on his effulgence. May he enlighten me. May he enlighten us. That is the meaning of the Gayatri Mantra, a very ancient prayer. The concept of three worlds was there at that time. Then gradually other thinkers appeared. And in that place which we call India now, there was a thinker. He found out something. And what he found out was recorded in a holy book called Katha Upanishad. And what did he find out? Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam prana ejati nisritam. Whatever exists in this world is no other than something which is vibrating in cosmic energy. So that is the meaning. So that's how the idea of the world kept on changing. How many worlds are there? There are different frequencies of vibration. Each such world would be called a loka, plane of existence, and it will have its own frequencies. We are in this world, it has its own frequencies. Our body and mind are equipped to catch those frequencies only. That's why we are here. But there are how many such planes of existence? The scriptures of Hinduism say, innumerable such planes of existence are there. Innumerable lokas. And they occupy the same space, but each one is vibrating at a different frequency. And each of these planes of existence is called a loka, as I told you. So there are innumerable lokas. Now, after that what? This is the question I have to answer, isn't it? Yes. After death, the scriptures of Hinduism say that this physical body made of flesh, bones, etc., that drops dead. But still the person who owned that body goes on existing. He retains a subtle body, finer body, similar to this body. And it is mainly made of the mind and the senses and the motor organs, and a fine body resembling this body that exists. In 19th century, there was a saint named Vijaya Krishna Goswami. He had the ability to see the finer things. But he was psychic. We use the word psychic. And his mind could catch frequencies which other minds could not catch. Anyway, one day he went to see an elderly lady who was in her deathbed. She was a very virtuous lady, very pure-minded lady. She was unselfish, always willing to help others. She was full of kindness. And she was dying in her deathbed. Vijaya Krishna Goswami went to see her. And there he saw a strange sight. Above her body, another body, very similar to her own, was floating just a few inches above her body. And these two bodies were connected by something like a rope made of light, as it were. And then when that lady died, that rope snapped. It was not there anymore. And the body which was floating above, that became alive. That means Vijaya Krishna Goswami understood that this means that she has died. And the upper body was her subtle body. And that body was giving out some kind of light. And then another being appeared, another person who has similar body, from whose body light was coming out. And that the other person came and took that, led that elderly lady to go somewhere, and the both were gone. So, lady was fit for some other plane of existence, and a guide from that plane of existence had come and taken her to that world. That's what Vijaya Krishna Goswami understood. And these are mentioned in our scriptures also. And then another day, Vijaya Krishna Goswami went to see a young man who was just newly married. He was dying. And similar sight he saw, that a body, another body was floating above the young man's body, living body. And it was of dull color and all. And then eventually that connecting link between the two, like a rope, that snapped. And then that means that young man had died. And then the upper body started moving. It was dark in color. And then another person having similar body, having a similar body, came to the young man and asked him to follow him. But the young man did not want to go with him. He straight away went to the next room where his wife was sitting very sad. She was very sad, thinking that her husband was dying. And then he came to her and said, "I am not dead. Look at me. I am not dead. I am quite all right." He had not even understood that he had died. And he went on saying that emphatically. Then suddenly his wife saw his form, and then she got scared. She ran out of that room saying, "Oh, save me, a ghost has come to get me." She could not recognize her husband's ethereal body. Then that young man's soul slowly walked away and went somewhere. Went to the world for which he was ready. His body and mind, subtle body and mind, took him there. So there are many different planes of existence. Some planes where just by being there a person feels great peace and joy. According to our scriptures, one scripture, there are 14 such planes of existence or locos. So there are 6 planes of existence above this earth plane. That means above and below, that means how much joy one feels being there. So there are 6 other planes of existence above this earth plane. What are they? Bhuvarloka, Swarloka, Maharloka, Tapoloka and Satyaloka. Satyaloka is the highest. And compared to the earth, this Bhurloka, there are 7 other planes of existence. And like Atalaloka, Vitalaloka, Sutalaloka, Rasatalaloka, Talatalaloka, Mahatalaloka and Patalaloka. Patal is the lowest. That means there is no joy and peace. So these 14 planes of existence that talk about. Well, let me mention here something which happened to me. Then I was just about 20 years old, 21 years old, and I had become a government auditor because my father had died some 2 or 3 years before that, and then I had the thought of becoming a monk, but I didn't tell that to anyone. But I thought I should not shock my mother. My mother was a very spiritually developed lady, and I respected her like a goddess. I thought I should not shock her. She was already hurt at the demise of my father. I didn't want to give her another shock, because being an all-renouncing monk is like being dead to the family in India. Then I thought I should let me take some time. So I accepted the position of the government auditor, and I thought I would be there for 7 years, which exactly I did. And then I joined the monastic order. And at that time, just after joining the order, I had a friend. His name was Motilal De, very good friend. He was older than me by 2 or 3 years, but we were close friends. So he learned from one of his cousins, a lady who was a good medium, and she could invite departed souls, and she could communicate with them. So I was curious, so he also learned how to do that a little bit. So one day he said, why not come to my home? And he was not married at that time, he was a young man. He said, let me try that. So he and I were there in a room, and then there were there was a pen and some pieces of paper to write on. And then he said, let us invite your father's soul to come. So we invited. And he became the medium through which my father's soul started communicating with me. I asked him many questions, and I asked him, are you happy that I have become a government auditor? And he said, no. So why not? I said, you are meant to be an all-renouncing monk, he said. I said, what's the harm if I get promotion and all, and I go to a very high place in the audit department? Then he said, no. the an all-renouncing monk is the highest. That's what he said. He would never have said this had he been alive. Then I asked him many other questions, many of them. And strangely enough, he gave answers to each and every question. And some questions were about the future happenings and all. And he told those things, what will happen and so on. I asked, my big brother was there, who was 12 years older. And I said, if I become a monk, then will my big brother have some son? Then he said, no, he will have only daughters. I said, no son? He said, no, only daughters will be born. That came to be true. Eventually he had 3 daughters, and one child was born dead, and that was also a girl. So that came true. And I asked about the medium. Will he become a monk? He said, no, he cannot be. He will be a good householder. So many such questions I asked. And it's strange that eventually every answer came true. Then I asked him, where are you? He said, I'm in a world which is made of light. I said, while you are on earth, you did not know all these things. Your answers, you could not have been able to give the answers that you are giving now. How come you can know all these things? Then he said, just by being where I am now, I automatically come to know these things. I said, do you know everything? Then he said, no, everything is known to God only. He was a very spiritual person, very generous, kind. My father. I'm lucky to have had such parents. So he must have gone to a high plane of existence. That's why he could know all those things. So, and I mentioned that there are 14 planes of existence according to our scriptures. But another scripture called the Chandogya Upanishad speaks of 8 levels of existence. It speaks of a path which is followed by the departed soul. It is called Devajana, that is a path of light. And along that path he goes. And gradually, one after another, he goes to including this earth, 8 levels. Now, including from this earth, he goes to 8 other levels. They are Archi, Diva, Shuklapaksha, Shanmasa, Uttarayana, Samvatsara, Aditya, Chandrama, and Vidyut. That Vidyut Loka, there when his departed soul can go, then a superhuman being, that's what, comes and receives him. And then he helps that departed soul to experience God. That's what that Chandogya Upanishad teaches us. Yes, so far we have learned a few things, but there is a question. Some people are reborn, that is the idea of reincarnation is there in Hinduism. Why are they reborn? Why do they come back to this plane of existence? which is this earth? And the answer has been given. There is a person after his death goes to another plane of existence, but his mind is there. And if he had great attachment to something or someone existing in this world, then he will go on thinking and pining for those. There is a story that a king was very fond of a deer, and at the point of death he was thinking of the deer. That means that was the prominent thought in his mind, and he died. So after his death he must still be thinking of the deer. And as a result he was reborn as a deer. That's what the story tells us. That means the last thought of a departing person is very important. And a person may be attached to wealth or position or something on earth, and that person will be reborn. How many times? Well, we do not know. Yes, they may be reborn many, many times. Because as long as they have unfulfilled desires which can be fulfilled on this earth plane of existence, then they may go to the other planes of existence, but their minds will bring them back to this world. And they will be reborn. But there are some souls who, due to spiritual tendencies and everything, they feel that there is nothing in this world which can attract them. So when they die, they will eventually go to the highest plane of existence called Satyaloka. It is also called Brahmaloka. If a person be a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna is a divine incarnation, and then he will go to Ramakrishna Loka. Ramakrishna Loka is Satyaloka, or which is called Brahmaloka, the highest plane of existence. That is also Ramakrishna Loka. That could be Christ Loka, if the person is a Christian. In that plane of existence, these divine incarnations are fully manifest. Ramakrishna Loka. The devotees of Ramakrishna, they may go to Ramakrishna Loka. They will not be reborn. They will be in that peaceful atmosphere of Ramakrishna Loka or Satyaloka. What is Ramakrishna Loka? Is it our fantasy? No. Sri Ramakrishna had a few close saintly disciples. He would not look upon himself as a guru, because as a divine incarnation he was personified humility. He could not think of himself as divinity. But anyway, from our point of view, he was divinity itself, which had taken human form. So he had a few close disciples who were saintly. And there was one disciple among them whose name was Subodhananda. When he came to Sri Ramakrishna, he was a young boy only. And eventually, through his spiritual tendencies and spiritual practice, he became a saint. And as he was very young, others would call him Koka. Koka means the baby. So Swami Subodhananda is known in our monastic order because we belong to that order, started by Sri Ramakrishna's disciple Vivekananda. And he is called Koka Maharaj. Maharaj means a Swami. So he always used to think that he was a baby. Maybe Sri Ramakrishna's baby, I'm sure. Then he was at that time in our headquarters in India, which is in Belur Math. And someone from East Bengal came with the request that one of those saintly disciples must go to East Bengal and give spiritual initiation to people. And then they went to a senior saintly disciple. He said, why not Koka? Why not Koka goes there? So then they came to Swami Subodhananda and said, yes, you have to come with me to East Bengal. Then Swami Subodhananda said, I am a baby, what do I know? I don't know how to give you spiritual initiation or anything. That's what he said. Then they went to this Holy Mother, Sri Sarda Devi. And when she heard that that gentleman had come to take Swami Subodhananda to East Bengal, he said, go and tell Koka that I want him to go. And after her order, Koka could not disobey. He went to East Bengal. And anyone who came to him, he gave them mantra. That is spiritual initiation. That mantra which would liberate people. And then he initiated there a girl called Kusum. She was a child, a young widow with her parents living there. Eventually her parents moved to another city called Ranchi. And Kusum also went with them. And it so happened that Swami Subodhananda had to visit Ranchi. And then naturally he had to visit Kusum's family also, because he was instrumental in giving them initiation. And there is a family who lived next doors. And as far as I recollect, they're Mukherjee family. They had a double-storied house and everything. And one day, Swami Subodhananda was not visiting at that time, Ranchi. And the Mukherjees heard that Kusum was critically ill. And then Kusum, unfortunately, and she was critically ill and she was going to die. And then one day they heard her parents crying loudly, indicating that Kusum must have died. And the Mukherjees went upstairs, and from the open portico there, which we call veranda, they could see Kusum going out of her home, and she was following her guru, Swami Subodhananda. Then the Mukherjees thought, oh, we didn't know that he had come. But anyway, that was a mystery. And after that, when Swami Subodhananda came to visit Ranchi, And the Mukherjees also knew him, had come to know him, and then they said that they had seen him to come and take the spirit of Kusum with him and go somewhere else. So then he said, I don't know anything about these things. But anyway, that question was in his mind. Then he came to the headquarters of Ramakrishna Order, Belur Math. And after a while, he went to a place of pilgrimage in India to spend some time there alone. And he was there, and a small room he was given because he was a monk by the owners of that home. And there he was staying and begging for his food, as this is the tradition in India. Monks beg food sometimes. And then one day he became critically ill. He was so ill that he could not get up from his bed. There was water in his room, but he could not drink water. He felt like drinking. Then suddenly he saw Kusum there in her physical body. And he was amazed. And he asked, how come you are here? Kusum said, Sri Ramakrishna sent me here to help you. And then Kusum took care of him for 2 or 3 days. And he became better. At that time he asked Kusum, what happened to you after you passed away? He said, after I passed away, I thought you had come to receive me. And then I started following you. And after a while, you turned back, and then I saw that it was not you, but it was Sri Ramakrishna whom I had been following. So Sri Ramakrishna took the form of Kusum's guru and came to receive her. And said, how come you are here? Sri Ramakrishna said to me, Koka is not well, so please go and nurse him. That's why I have come here. Then when Swami Bhaskarananda became all right, she left after a few days. So this is an interesting story. But anyway, the subject of my talk was after death what. I have discussed a few points related to that, hoping that I have given answer to that question. Thank you all so much for coming here.